Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to start now. First, want to mention that all the SA classes and the SA learning today on the pre-Pesach day is dedicated in honor of our community's selfless medical professionals, and they are learning merit the Refuah Shelemah of SA's dear founder Stanley Chera, Shlomo Ben Shoshana, and all those who have fallen ill. So to make sure our learning throughout the whole day is a merit of the members of community and everyone in the world who needs a Refuah Shelemah, and also everyone who's trying to help save and cure everybody else. So today I want to talk about the four sons. I'm gonna share my screen just so we see it in front of us. There we go, from Haggadah. And once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions that you might have. So we all know the Haggadah says, Baruch Makom Baruch Hu, Baruch Shnatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael Baruch Hu, Keneged Arba Banim Dibra Torah. The Haggadah says the Torah talks about four different types of children. We have the Chacham, the Chad Rasha, the Chad Tam, the Chad Shenei Odeh V'Shol. Categorizes in four different types of people, of children. One who is wise, one who is evil, one who is innocent, one who doesn't even know how to ask. But if we think about it, do we ever categorize people like this? Do we ever, if let's say a teacher, does anybody actually say, okay, this is a smart kid, this is the stupid kid, this is the kid who doesn't even know how to ask questions? Does the teacher say that out loud? Or do parents categorize their children as such? Oh, this is the smart one, this is the brainy one. This one, you know, there's no point. Yeah, and that one, no, I don't really like him. So it doesn't make sense. Why is the Torah and the Haggadah saying to us right off the bat there are four different types of people when we normally don't have that? And, you know, and we shouldn't be doing that. Even if parents or teachers do that, it really shouldn't be. It's not properly done. So we have to really think about why the Haggadah is doing this, why the Haggadah is pointing out that there are four different types of people. And we actually read them, and we're going to read them and see where the Torah comes up with these questions, where the Torah comes up with these answers. Could we really discern which child is which child is the wise one, which child is the smart one? Just looking at their questions, it doesn't necessarily make sense. So today, in just a short while we have, I want to figure out, where do these children come from? What do they stand for? And then if we have time, I'm going to even delve deep and pose multiple questions on this, because if we look inside, Haggadah has been around for hundreds, thousands of years. It's one of the oldest running books that we have, and constantly being formulated and differed over time. But if we look at the Gemara and the Yerushalmi and the Mechilta, they're different versions of these questions. There are different versions of answers, and we'll see if we could delve deeper in them. So if we just quickly look over what the Chacham, Rasha, Tam, and Shenei Odeh V'Shol, let's look at their questions so then we could delve deeper, just to give an overview. Chacham Mahu Omer, Ma Edut V'Chukim V'Hamishtim Asher Tzivah Hashem Elokeinu Etchem. The Chacham asks, why do we have all these different types of laws? He goes and in depth, he says, we have different types of dot, chukim, mishpatim. Why do we have these? And then our answer is, because he's wise, we give him all these halachot, we give him all these answers, and we keep on going. Now we have the Rasha. The Rasha asks, Ma avodah azot lachem? What is this avodah that you are doing? And the Haggadah there points out, lachem v'lo lo. He points out, he's talking about you guys, and he doesn't include himself. And therefore, it says kafar bi'ikar. He is apostate. He is the one going against the whole entire Torah. And therefore, we say, Bavor asa Hashem li b'tzit Mitzrayim. We poke it in his face, and we say, this is why Hashem took us out, me, and not you. And if he was there, he wouldn't be taken out. Tom, what does he say? The simple one. He says just mazot. He doesn't have a full question. He just says, what is this all about? And you ask him, and you answer him very simply. Hashem took us out with a strong hand. And then the last one, person who can't even ask, you open up for him. Because it says, you open up for him and you say, this is why Hashem took us out. If you realize, which we'll get to a bit later, it's very similar to the answer that's given to the Rasha. It's kind of the same answer, which is interesting and we'll point out later. So we have 4 different types of people, 4 different types of sons, asking 4 different types of questions, and we get 4 seemingly different answers. Now, the Haggadah takes this from somewhere. They take it from the Chumash. And the Chumash in Dvarim and in also Shmot tells us that your children are going to ask certain questions. Your children are going to ask certain questions of you, and it gives some answers to give. But if we pay attention, the questions that are asked in the Chumash and the answers that are given don't necessarily line up with the Haggadah. They don't necessarily line up with the 4 different children. But let's take a step back. So we said there are 4 different types of children, and we said we don't necessarily categorize people that way. And why does the Haggadah give these 4 different types of people? So they must be coming from a different place. And when we answer somebody, especially as a teacher, I always think about this. When we answer somebody, when they ask a question, we have to be very careful of what we answer them, because our answer could influence their thought process, and also more importantly, what everybody else has to say. So when the Haggadah first brings up the Chacham and gives him all the halachot, we have to be thinking, what is everybody else thinking? And then when we give him the halachot, the Chacham, then the Rasha starts thinking, hey, I heard about all of this. I got all the halachot, but what does this mean? Why are we doing all this? I know I have to do all these halachot. Why is it important? Why are we doing this? What is this avodah? Later on, all the others are also asking, yeah, I got this fighting now, but okay, give me the point. Give me the answers. There's always that kid that just wants to know what's on the test. And then there's the kid, in the back, he doesn't even ask questions. He doesn't care. He's just going to copy the notes at the end. Get the notes from somebody that you have to tell him, no, this is what we have to do. You have to open up and tell them that it's important. It's not just because of the test. So when you ask and answer a question, you have to think about what everybody else is also thinking. Because sometimes you have that self-fulfilling prophecy when you say, oh, this person is smart, this person is not smart, I'm going to answer him, and then that's fine. But you also have to think about everybody else. Now, Chachamim describe these different types of children in different ways and try to give different reasons for that. One of the reasons they come up with, it's different stages of life. If you think about of how we think and how we develop, we have different stages of life. And it's actually the opposite. We start out unable to ask. We accept the world as given. When somebody tells us something, we believe it. We don't ask any questions. But later on, we start to be curious. A child starts to be curious. He starts to ask questions. Now, this child doesn't have ulterior motives. They just want to learn. Then we have the challenging time, teenage years, high school years, when they become rebellious. They want to know more. It's about self-exploration. It's not necessarily that they're wicked, that they're bad, but rather they just want to know more. And they're questioning themselves. They're questioning the beliefs. They're questioning different things. And then finally, the higher stage is wisdom, is when you internalize all that knowledge and you say, yes, now I really understand it. But something that I saw very interestingly, when we describe a Chacham, when Chazal describe a Chacham, they don't just say Chacham, smart person. What do we say? Talmid Chacham. Because we believe in Judaism, it's not, you can't just reach that highest level that you're a Chacham now. That's it. You know everything. You have to be a Talmid Chacham. You always have to be learning more and want to be learning more. So one way of understanding this is stages of life. Starting out unable to ask, then you get curious, you want to know more, then you're challenging your beliefs, and then finally you internalize them, which is a great way of understanding it. We could also understand the different types of children as different types of people. Some people ask questions because they want to hear the answer. They want to really know. Others ask questions because they don't want to hear that answer. They say this, they say that, but they really don't want to know, but they're just asking. Some people ask because they don't understand. They don't understand what's going on, so they're just asking questions. And then finally, some people don't even ask. They don't even ask questions because they don't even understand what they don't understand. They're so confused. So if we look at different types of people, they ask different questions because they're coming from different places. And then finally, the Avudraham actually says this, we can look at them as their knowledge level. Some people know more, some people know less. So the Chacham knows more, and Shonei Odeh Olishol knows less. And the wise is also on top because he does know more, he does understand the halachot, but his question is not about the halachot, but rather why we're doing them. So if we look at all the different 4 children, we could see that they're coming from different places, either different stages of life, different types of people, different knowledge levels. And we should be thinking about, now, what do they really want to know? What are they really asking? And if we break it down, let's go back. If we break it down, we look, the Chacham, he's asking particular minutia of the halachot. He's saying, Mahadot v'chukim v'mishtim asher tziva Hashem Elokeinu etchem. He's breaking down all the halachot into 3. He's saying, He'edot, the testimonies, the things that we do because we remember that there's Pesach, the things that we do because we remember Shabbat, Hashem rested on the 7th day. Chukim, the laws that we don't really know the answer to. Shatnez, Pasar v'chalav, things that we don't necessarily know the answer to. And then Mishpatim, the particular halachot of justice, of things that you have to do right to your fellow man. And the Chacham takes all of this, takes all the halachot, and asking particular minutia of all these different type of things, which breaks it down because he wants to know more. Then we'll get to the Rasha. But if you look at the Rasha, remember what the Haggadah said they didn't like about the Rasha? That he said, Ma avodah hazot lachem, lachem v'lo lo. He says you, and he doesn't include himself. But if we look at the Chacham does something similar. He says, Ma adot volkim hamshritim asher tzivah Hashem Elokeinu etchem. He also says you. He doesn't include himself. So we always chastise the Rasha for excluding himself, but the Chacham is also possibly excluding himself too. Now, when you're seeking knowledge, you have to be thinking of why you're seeking that knowledge. Are you just seeking the knowledge for knowledge's sake, to be more academic just to know? Or are you actually internalizing it? Now, the Chachamim, because they want to whitewash certain things and leave the Chacham as him and the Rasha as him, actually say that because the Chacham says, Siva Hashem Elokeinu etchem, there he says, okay, he's internalizing Hashem Elokeinu. Then he's really saying, so etchem is not really separating himself because it has Elokeinu. But if we don't do that, if we don't do what the Chachamim there just to make sure the Chacham is nice and the Rasha is not nice, we say that we have to think about when we're Chacham, when we're actually, for intellectual curiosity, are we asking for the sake of just knowing the information? Or rather, yes, knowing the information and then internalizing it in our lives. Now, let's go to the Rasha. I have a lot to say about the Rasha. The Rasha is always, if you look at different picture Haggadot, a lot of different Haggadot have a lot of pictures over the years. You know, now we have children's Haggadot, they have a lot of pictures, and they always categorize the Rasha as this wicked person, always either a jester or someone who's doing something wrong or sneaky. But is that really the case? Is this Rasha really a bad person? Let's look at his question. Ma avodah hazot lachem. He's asking about ma'avodah. Chazal pick up on this. And he's asking, and later we'll see in the Yerushalmi Mechilta what it really says, he's asking about the avodah, the torech, the work that you're doing. Because if you think of the Rasha as a wicked and he's saying something bad, he's saying, hey, we have this, I just heard what the Chacham got all the answers, all the halachot and all these things, and he's thinking, hey, Pesach is all about freedom. It's all about being free. It's what we should be able to do. You're telling me I have to worship Hashem, I have to do all this work, I have to do all these mitzvot? That's also torech. That's also avodah. I thought now we're free, we can do whatever we want. If I wouldn't want to be free and wouldn't want avodah as servitude, I could have been left in Egypt with Paro. I was a servant then. Now I'm also have to do this avodah, this torech, this worship of Hashem. I also have to work hard in all these different things because he doesn't understand what freedom is about. There are other classes today on the essay. If you want to hear about freedom, I don't want to talk too much about it, but a little bit about freedom. It's not necessarily freedom. You could do whatever you want. And Rabbi Sachs discusses freedom from freedom too, but it really is about what you're able to do, the responsibilities that you now have. Yes, you're not forced, and freedom is not necessarily being do whatever you want, but rather put in a certain mold of having responsibility and doing what's right and following what Hashem says. Having those responsibility and putting upon yourself those restrictions, that's what freedom is. And the Rasha doesn't necessarily understand that. Another thing the Rasha does, he separates himself from the community. It says, kafar bi'ikar, the Haggadah says about him. He is separating himself from the Jewish people, and that is a big problem. Because being a Jew is about being part of a people. We look about Geirut, if you look of what converts are supposed to do, whether you accept them or not, what they're supposed to do, there are 2 points. Okay, one, you have to accept all the halachot, all the Torah, everything that comes with being a Jew in terms of the mitzvot and what Hashem commands you. But also, and more important possibly, is accepting yourself as part of a people. You can't say, okay, I'm going to keep all the mitzvot, but then I'm going to walk in the street, I'm not going to be Jewish. I'm not going to be part of the Jews all around the world. Being a Jew is not keeping mitzvot and also being part of a people. We see that in the story of Moshe, and that's why Moshe was an exemplar of what a leader is. Moshe, when he was still in Paro's house, why is he the greatest leader? Why was he chosen to take Bnei Israel out? Because the first thing we see what Moshe does, it says he goes out to the people. He sees Bnei Israel. He sees what they are doing. And then he sees the Mitzri hit the Ivri. He does something about it. Later on, he sees 2 Jews fighting. He sees it. He does something about it. Later on, he goes out and he sees by the well that the Midianim were mistreating the daughters of Yitro. He sees that there's a problem and he does something about it. He's somebody who says, I am a part of these people. Even though he was separated before and he was part of Paro's house, he was saying, I'm part of the people. I am a Jew. And that's why he's the exemplar of a Jewish leader, because you're part of the leader. And the Rasha separates himself from that. But like I said, the Rasha could be seen in 2 different ways. The Rasha, you could see him as separating himself from Judaism. You could say he's fighting the halachot also and saying, why do I have to worship all and do all these things, this Torah? But if you could look at the Rasha in a different way also. If you look at what we do to him, it says, you bash him in his face. And you said, you bash him. Would a parent ever do that with a child? Would a teacher, a kid ask the question, would he punch him in the face and push him out? If you know you're already dealing with this rebellious child, this curious child, this one who just wants to figure out what's what, you wouldn't bash him. That's the worst way of treating somebody. You don't push him away even farther. You try to bring him in. So why do we do that? Why do we push him away? Why do we punch him in the face? Why do we push him and say he's not going to be part of this? We should be forgiving to him. This, I've only seen it with Rabbi Sachs. He actually looks at this. Where is this concept from? Heked shenav. It's very weird. We don't see it that often. Oftentimes we see different responses, but Heked shenav, why do we use that? He says this pasuk, where's it from? It's from Yirmiyahu. Chazkel also mentioned this, but from Yirmiyahu. And just in English, it says, when the father eats sour grapes, the children's teeth are set apart. He says this is related to what the parents do. And possibly he's saying that the Rasha is only saying this, and this is the defense of the parents, but it's not right, he says, that it possibly is the parents' fault. What does that mean? Parents' fault? he says that the Rasha, yes, he gets it, all the halachot. He understands all the halachot. But his question is, Ma havdot hazot lachem. He's asking the parents, okay, I get this. I get you have to do it. But what does it mean to you? What meaning do you take part in this? Do you invoke or you do all these halachot, and does this change who you are as a Jew? What meaning does Judaism have for you? And possibly he's not seeing it in his house. That's why he is saying this. He is saying that he wants to understand the meaning. And when you answer the Rasha, it should be to show your love for Judaism. It should be to show why you do this, to show your love for it. And that's how you really should be answering somebody who's possibly rebellious or possibly doesn't know and then pushing things away. You should show them why you love it, why you care so much about it. And when you do that, then he's going to come around, and then he's going to love it himself. I'm going to skip the time for a moment. We'll get back to it. But let's look at what we do for him. You open up to him. Because he doesn't have to ask, you open up, and we use the pasuk v'gata vincha because all the other one says v'amarta because he asks a question. Here they don't ask a question, so you have to tell him. Because the task of education is to teach a child to be open to anything. When somebody doesn't know to ask a question, it's not necessarily he doesn't know, that he doesn't know the answer or he doesn't know what needs to be asked, but rather possibly he's intimidated. He's intimidated because he's scared. And we learn from this Haggadah that we should be opening his heart for love of knowledge, opening his heart that it's okay to fail, it's okay not to know the answers all the time. But we should be opening up his heart, opening up his mind in order to, so he can fulfill the questions. Now the Haggadah says, yes, it's all about questions. And that's why we do certain things. We take the seder plate away, we put up the matzah, we hang things up, we put things around. We want children to ask questions. This is what it's all about. And even if we can't ask questions, we have to open his heart to want to know more, want to seek knowledge. That's a real understanding of these four different types of children. Now, I want to take, we have some time, so I want to take a look at the different in order between the Chumash, the Yerushalmi, and what we can learn from them. If anyone has any questions for what I said so far, please, unmute yourself, ask any questions. More than happy to answer any questions. We look at this, we said the order of the Chumash, the actual questions of what they say is different than what we see in the Haggadah. In the Chumash, we says the first question says, Ma avodah zot lachem. We actually see the question that the Haggadah uses for the Rasha is first up in Shemot in terms of order. Then we got to the Vincha B'yomahu. That is the answer that we give to Shenoy Dolisho, and also the answer we give to the Rasha. Then we have Ma'azot. Then we have the question that the Tam answers. If we look at Rashi, very interesting, on Ma'azot, he changes something and he bases on the Gemara. He uses the word tipesh because the Yerushalmi also uses the word tipesh. It says somebody who's not necessarily Tam, who's simple, but rather tipesh, that he can't really get the full understanding. And finally, we have in Dvarim the question, those are the question that we have the Chacham answers. But I want to look in the Yerushalmi. And we see, like I said before, the Yerushalmi does not necessarily correspond to what the Haggadah says. It starts off the same, that Kenei Arba Banin Tibra Torah ben Chacham ben Rasha ben Tipesh ben Shenoy Desho. Again, it uses the word Tipesh instead of Tam. But here it says, Ma ben Chacham ma hu omer ma haduf chokim mashtim asher tzvei Hashem Elkeinu ota af ata omer lo bechozek yad yitzinu Hashem me'eretz ben beit avadim. He says, the Chacham asked the question, the same question we have in the Haggadah, but if we look at the answer is different. The answer is the same answer that's given to the Tipesh of what they call it, or the Tam. So if we think about it, is the Chacham really Chacham? Or is the Tipesh a real Chacham? It begs the question. And if we think like I said in the beginning, when you ask a question, are you asking it for the pure sake of knowledge, or you have some ulterior motive of what you're getting at? And if you don't have that motive of internalizing it, etchem, remember the chacham could possibly also be etchem, pushing it away just for academics, then that person is possibly a tipesh. That person is just not worth answering him, and you give him a simple answer. The Rasha, ma avodah hazot lachem, here it adds the word ma hatorech hazeh, she'atem matchim elinu b'chol shana v'shana. He adds that the Torah, the work that he's doing, that every time you have to do it, and you answer him, Bavur zeh aseh Hashem li asa lasoto ish lo asa, and if he wasn't there, he wasn't nigal. Then tipesh, the tipesh asks ma zot, and then here we have the answer that we normally give to the chacham. Here we give him the answer that we give from the Haggadah, all the different halachot, because this tipesh is the innocent one. He's actually wants to know, according to the Yerushalmi, he wants to know the answers, unlike the Chacham, who's just possibly doing it because for academic reasons, to show off that he knows all the information, you just answer him simply. Here, the Tipesh is the one who really wants to know, and you give him all the details. And then, it's similar. You patach lo, you have to open up, and then you tell him all the different things. So we see in the Yerushalmi that there's a different order and different questions, and we have to beg the question, why is that? And I think one of the answers could be is the Haggadah is trying to teach us all those things we started off with. Try to teach us all the different types of people, the different stages of life, and is trying to teach certain things. Here the Refuah says that the Torah wanted to show us that there are different types of people, and therefore he had different types of questions for different types of people. We mentioned Avud Raham of what his is talking about the knowledge. That's why the Torah orders it in terms of how much knowledge they have. The Vilna Gaon actually thinks there's something different. The order is such so we don't have the Rasha at the end and we put it together. But I want to focus, just for ending shortly, but I want to think about what we could learn from this. I saw actually something very interesting. The Haggadah starts out, this part is talking, the Torah, Tibra Kineged Arba Banim. If we look at the milah, the word Kineged, it could be talking about the 4 different types of children. But if we look at what Kineged could also mean, it's against the concept of 4 children. The Torah is possibly saying that we're against this concept that there are 4 different types of people and they're stuck in their ways and they can't change, but rather each person possibly contains this one type of person. One person actually contains 4 different types of people. They're connected. The Torah is against the concept that there are 4 different types of people, but rather they're all one person and all different thought processes. Like we said in the beginning, it might be stages of growth, stages of life, stages of knowledge. The Lubavitcher Rebbe says something also very nice. He says that what should we be thinking about? We should be thinking about the beauty in this. That if we think about it, all 4 children are sitting at the Seder table. We're not excluding one or the other. We have all different types of people at our table, and we have to answer them. And in life, we have all different types of people in life. We also have to talk about how we talk to each person, how we accept one another. If we just look at his words, I could read this in English if it is easier. But he says that there's a vav connecting to one another, and all is not lost for the wicked one, for the Almighty has arranged that he is next to the wise. One can help him and improve his ways. The wise one should not say, "What do I care about the wicked one? Let him do whatever he wants." For all of Israel guarantees for each other, and it is incumbent upon every single person to help bring him back and to a good place. The wise one must also remember that sin crouches at the entrance. He has to be careful. Even though he's supposed to help the Rasha find his ways, he also has to be careful he's not influenced by the Yetzer Hara. And then when we put them all together, when we connect them, we realize we should be accepting of one another. We should be there to help one another, regardless of their knowledge level, regardless of where they are at that point, because we're all here together As we know, the Rabbi also says, not here, there's a missing fifth child. And I heard Rabbi Dana spoke about this earlier today, that there's this child who's not even at the table. That's as far gone, he's already lost. And that's a sad thing. We should be thinking about the people that are at our table and all around us in our lives, that we should be embracing one another, whether they're seeking for their own knowledge, whether they're seeking to internalize it. We should realize what types of people we're dealing with. Because when we know, then we're able to answer. Because when somebody asks a question, we should be thinking not just what words are they saying, but rather where are they coming from? How could I influence them to be better? How could I influence them to bring one another together? And that's what the Haggadah is trying to do all the way at the beginning, is trying to tell us that the Torah is talking about these different four types of people that are here together. And yes, we could learn one thing from another, but the important thing on Pesach especially, fortunately, we can't have large seders. But even the seder that we have with our small, intimate group, we should be thinking of who they are and what we could do and how we could help them, that we should accept one another. In our lives, oftentimes we think and put stereotypes for this person and that person, but we should put that all the way the Haggadah is trying to say. We're trying to bring everyone together, especially around the Pesach Seder. So I hope in the short time we got to know the four children, got to know who they are, a little more about them. And I'm happy to take any questions that anybody might have.